To develop meditation, one must eliminate the 5 faults mentioned above. First, one must be able to recognize these faults and then apply the remedies to remove them. These remedies are called the 8 Antidotes for eliminating the 5 faults. As explained earlier, there are 8 consciousnesses, also known as the principal mind. Within these consciousnesses, changes occur called mental events, mental factors, which can sometimes be wholesome and sometimes unwholesome. These mental events can also be described in terms of the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates are the aggregate of form, the aggregate of sensations, the aggregate of perception, the aggregate of mental formations, and the aggregate of consciousness. They describe the changes that occur within the principal mind. In the analysis of the aggregate of mental formations, there are 51 different kinds of mental events, such as laziness and forgetting instructions. The 5 faults we just discussed are mental events, mental factors, and the 8 antidotes are also included in this list of 51 mental events. The 8 antidotes are also mental factors which belong to the aggregate of mental formations. Of course, they primarily require the cooperation of mental consciousness, though sometimes the first 5 consciousnesses may also participate. These mental factors, such as drowsiness and laziness, are governed by karma and can be adjusted. Whether it is drowsiness or distraction, these are karmic habits that can be overcome. Studying the dharma to train the mind is an interesting endeavour. We can transform our minds into a gentle, obedient, and stable state. In this world, is there anything more interesting than this? In Olympic equestrian events, the horses are so well trained that the riders can make them walk in square steps or side steps, which brings a sense of accomplishment. In contrast, we tame the mind. How fascinating! Worldly people focus on external things, such as building airplanes to soar in the sky or making boats to cross rivers, and take pride in these achievements. On a larger scale, they build aircraft carriers, feeling very proud. Look, we have aircraft carriers. We have airplanes that can fly to the sky. They work on these pursuits, but don't know how fascinating it is to pilot their own minds. Practicing meditation is piloting the mind, training it to follow one's command, far more interesting than piloting an airplane. As practice deepens, supernatural powers may arise. How fascinating! The mind is very interesting. It has infinite dimensions. Especially after entering deep meditation, you will discover that the world has many dimensions and that the world changes because of you. This is what 2012 truly means. When your mind changes, the world changes. The world arises from your mind. Therefore, we should develop enthusiasm for meditation. Now, I encourage you to practice meditation. It is extremely interesting, more interesting than any worldly pursuit, even though this level of meditation is still a worldly activity. Secular activities are dull and futile, creating unwholesome karma and resulting in karmic consequences. Meditation, however, is different. The more you meditate, the happier you become, and the more realizations you attain, enabling you to manifest everything. The first fault mentioned is laziness, which is a particularly strong obstacle to meditation. There are 4 mental events that can counteract laziness. The first remedy is having an aspiration or interest in meditation, which means that one enjoys meditation and feels happy engaging in it. This is how I used to feel. How delightful it is to meditate. We could say that one becomes attached to meditation, but this attachment is positive for beginners. Hence, we use the term aspiration, as attachment often refers to something negative and harmful. In Tibetan, there are 2 words for attachment: chagpa, which is negative attachment and usually translated as attachment, and molpa, which is positive attachment and usually translated as aspiration. If someone likes stealing and becomes attached to it, that is chagpa, negative attachment. If someone wants to help others or practice the dharma and is attached to that, it is molpa, because this attachment benefits both oneself and others. Regarding the thought, I must do this, the 2 words may seem similar in meaning. However, with molpa, the intention is to help, whereas with chagpa, the intention is to harm. Chagpa also has the meaning of being stuck, so one remains where one is and cannot progress. Thus, this word implies an obstacle to one's development. Meditation follows the same pattern. If you cling to a meditative state, your mindset becomes chagpa. If one is attached to something positive, such as meditation, it will bring positive results. If one likes meditation, one will meditate, which will naturally eliminate the obstacle of laziness. Sometimes, however, the object of attachment is not positive and brings no benefit. For example, I received a letter from South Africa in which a person said that she loved her cat but had lost it. It was a very beautiful cat and she kept missing it, unable to let go. This is an example of attachment that brings no benefit. What we need is attachment to something wholesome. This is what we call aspiration. Therefore, we should aspire to enter deep concentration and attain the perfection of meditation. This is bodhicitta in aspiration. We should develop enthusiasm for meditation. Meditative concentration helps uphold precepts, awaken wisdom, and tame the mind. It brings countless sublime benefits. I would like to praise. In our Dharma Center, he is the most diligent meditator. I encourage you to meditate as much as possible. He is really diligent and enjoys meditation. This is also due to his karmic habit from past lives. More accurately, it is not called karmic habit, but sublime aspiration. This is an excellent quality. We should support each other and practice meditation regularly. Meditation is extremely important. It is the most important step toward enlightenment. Without meditative concentration, enlightenment is impossible. Even if you have wisdom, it may be dry wisdom. What use is wisdom that lacks stability? It is unstable and can hardly subdue afflictions. Only with concentration does wisdom become powerful. Even if you have attained some realization, meditative concentration is still essential. Without deep concentration, you lack the power to counteract afflictions. This is very important. please practice meditation earnestly. Whatever you do, even when reciting a mantra, please do it in a state of concentration. This is why I encourage you to practice the Lotus Mudra. We should recite mantras in a state of concentration, which is a form of meditation. Those with mental stability can listen to teachings with a focused attention and are less prone to drowsiness. Without concentration, however, one cannot accomplish anything, including memorizing texts. Meditation is very important. The second remedy is zeal. If one has interest and motivation to practice, one doesn't need to force oneself to meditate. The enthusiasm for practice will naturally arise. Such meditators feel joyful and may not even want to sleep. The first antidote is aspiration, and the second is zeal. Both are similar in that they counteract laziness. Enthusiasm and interest in meditation need to be cultivated. Moreover, to develop motivation, one can study the meditative qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as well as the supreme benefits of meditation. Among the 6 perfections, meditation is the indispensable condition for accomplishing the other 5. It is like building a house. If it collapses halfway, the effort is in vain. Whether practicing generosity, moral discipline, patience, or any other perfection, all require a foundation of concentration. Without concentration, one cannot carry out their practice. The ability to get things done is important. Those with mental stability can accomplish tasks effectively, while those without it do everything in a state of confusion. Without concentration, one cannot focus on anything they do. The third remedy for laziness is faith. Although it is similar to the first remedy, aspiration refers to a strong pursuit of something, while faith is the firm belief in something of great value. This means believing in its value without doubt. For example, believing in the benefits and merits of meditation I just explained. Once doubt arises, it is no longer faith. The scriptures of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas frequently describe the merits and benefits of meditation. We should have faith, believing that their teachings are completely correct. Moreover, we should generate strong motivation, telling ourselves, I must practice meditation earnestly. Practice whenever you have time. Even 10 or 20 minutes can transform your body and mind. We should cultivate the habit of meditation, not the habit of chatting. Humans habitually like chatting. When there is nothing to do, they may chat for half an hour or an hour, which feels like just a few minutes, similar to how celestial beings perceive time. While drinking tea and chatting, an entire morning or afternoon can pass quickly. In contrast, when asked to meditate, one may struggle to sit for even 10 minutes. This shows that one lacks the habit of meditation, which is not good. A practitioner should cultivate the habit of meditation. Here, we don't engage in worldly activities. We come here to practice, not to perform long-term labour. However, if your karmic obstacles are really heavy, you can serve others. In doing so, your merit increases, and later you will be able to persevere in meditation. those with heavy karmic obstacles may find it hard to sit still. Newcomers who are not yet familiar with the teachings in particular should not practice rashly. The fourth remedy is literally called tamed or well-trained, also translated as flexible or supple. This means the mind is ready to meditate at any moment. One doesn't think, oh, now I have to prepare to meditate. How difficult, what a strain meditation is. The mind has become obedient and can enter meditation at any time. Without this suppleness of the well-trained mind and body, one does not have true samatha. One won't truly enter meditative concentration. One can only achieve a one-pointed state of mind. In this state, the mind is very focused, but one lacks a sense of willingness. In other words, the mind is not tamed or obedient. Hence, one will not attain genuine meditative concentration. We can force the mind to focus with effort. You may compel your mind to be one-pointed, but deep down you have a subtle resistance to meditation. You are not willing to meditate. You are merely forcing yourself to concentrate. In the beginning, it is often like this. We cannot or do not want to sit still, and the mind is restless. Yet we force ourselves to remain seated. Gradually, you will become serene. As you experience inner peace and comfort during meditation, you will gradually develop interest. When we have the suppleness for meditation, however, the mind naturally rests one-pointedly without effort. At that time, the mind is very relaxed and can concentrate effortlessly. Have you ever had such an experience? During meditation, you feel incredibly comfortable and no longer need to breathe. At that point, even breathing becomes unnecessary. The body and mind feel extremely peaceful, and awareness is exceedingly clear and free. With great clarity and ease, the mind abides effortlessly on a single point. Upon reaching the fourth dhyana, breathing ceases as it is no longer needed. At that stage, there is neither the need for breathing nor the sensation of it. As meditation deepens, you will find that breathing becomes unnecessary. This is very interesting. I really spoke about this with you before. Why? Because, considering your state, I couldn't discuss it. You are always consulting me about irrelevant matters, saying, "Teacher, I am not feeling well here. I have a problem there." The fifth remedy is mindfulness, which counteracts the fault of forgetting the meditation instructions. When you forget the meditation instructions, apply mindfulness as the antidote. When one abides in a meditative state, one does not forget the teachings they have received. Mindfulness has three characteristics. First, the mind is sharp and clear, without forgetting the instructions. Second, although the mind is very alert and focused, few thoughts arise. Since meditation is non-conceptual, direct perception, there are not many thoughts arising, and the mind naturally rests one-pointedly on the object. Third, with faith and trust, as well as the suppleness or flexibility gained from good training, meditation becomes a pleasant experience with a sense of comfort and peace. These three qualities in meditation ensure one does not forget the instructions. Of course, mastering these antidotes requires gradual training. they are not attained instantly. Likewise, sometimes we may lose mindfulness and then regain it. As the mind gradually enters a good meditative state, one does not lose mindfulness and can maintain it naturally. This ability develops over time through training, not talking. The fifth antidote, mindfulness, is very important. It means keeping the mind alert and clear, without forgetting the instructions. When you focus on the object of meditation, such as the breath, if the mind wanders elsewhere, you commit the fault of forgetfulness. While watching the breath, we should neither exert too much effort nor lose awareness. We must keep the mind clear. Similarly, when reciting a mantra, the mind should abide on the mantra. For example, when reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, the mind should hear each syllable clearly, without wandering thoughts. If you can observe, you will find that during one recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum, at least 18 wandering thoughts arise. As you enter deep meditative absorption, you can gradually observe this. With a coarse mind, however, you cannot notice it. You can use some methods to aid your meditation. For instance, if there are too many distracting thoughts at the beginning, you can recite Om Mani Padme Hum in one breath, emphasizing one syllable such as Hum or Om. In this way, you recite it as Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. By focusing on Hum or Om, distracting thoughts will decrease. These are methods I discovered through personal experience. Some techniques must be gradually figured out through your own meditation experience. The third fault is drowsiness or agitation. First, one must recognize when agitation or drowsiness arises during meditation. When one finds either of these present, one should apply a remedy to it. There are 3 methods to eliminate drowsiness or agitation. First, when experiencing drowsiness, visualize in your heart a 4-petaled white lotus with a white sphere at its center. Then, imagine this little white sphere rising to the top of the head, to the level of the hair, and then to a height of 4 finger widths above the head. This helps dispel drowsiness. Drowsiness is difficult to dispel. In the past, Chan Master Gaofeng Yuan Miao sat on the edge of a cliff to overcome it, if only he had known the method of lotus visualization. There are many ways to reduce drowsiness. One method I recommend is washing your face or head with cold water after the meditation session. If drowsiness persists, wet your entire head. First, wash your face, perform some physical exercise, then wash your head before returning to another meditation session. This approach helps dispel drowsiness. When agitation or too many thoughts arise, visualize in your heart an upside-down 4-petaled black lotus with a small black sphere in its center. Imagine this small black sphere going down to the level of your cushion, then descending to 4 finger widths below it into the ground. The second remedy for drowsiness is to keep the eyes wide open, look upward, and tense the body. To remove agitation, look downward with eyes half closed, and relax the body. Placing the mind downward can also counteract restlessness. Why do I usually encourage you to practice inner heat meditation? because beginners generally have many distracting thoughts. By resting the mind in the lower area of the body and visualizing the energy flowing downward, one can reduce wandering thoughts and restlessness. The third remedy for drowsiness is to meditate in a bright place. Open the windows to make the room bright and cool, and wear light clothing. This is also very important. Avoid direct wind, but keep the environment cool. Why meditate in winter? In the past, we practiced meditation in the winter, which was very cold. The breath coming from our noses was white. When we meditated on the mountain peak, the temperature was several degrees below zero. Back then, the winters were unbearably cold. We wrapped ourselves in quilts, meditating as white vapour rose from our noses. Those from places with heating may have never experienced this. If you feel drowsy, cool the environment slightly. Warm places easily cause drowsiness. The room should not be too hot, otherwise many people will become sleepy during class. To counteract agitation, keep the room warmer and darker and wear thick clothing. The fourth fault is under-application, the failure to apply antidotes in which one experiences drowsiness or agitation during meditation but does nothing about it. When this happens, one falls under the control of drowsiness or agitation and obviously cannot progress toward enlightenment. When one recognizes that drowsiness or agitation has arisen during meditation, one should recall the remedies and diligently apply them to dispel these problems. Applying the appropriate antidotes can eliminate the fault of under-application. Developing the habit of under-application is harmful. When I practiced in the meditation hall, some meditators would doze off and snore within 5 minutes. Yet, as soon as the meditation session ended, they were full of energy and chatted non-stop. Because they did not apply antidotes, they developed this bad habit. As soon as they sat down, they became sleepy. This problem often occurs among meditators who have been ordained for many years. I have seen many long-timers with severe drowsiness. Drowsiness is very difficult to overcome. Sometimes when I am exhausted, I also feel sleepy, but that state cannot be called drowsiness. Even when I am asleep, my mind remains clear. I am aware of movements around me and of what I am going to do. It is essential to apply antidotes promptly. Otherwise, once a bad habit forms, it becomes very difficult to overcome. To practice meditation, we should cultivate good habits. First, adopt the correct sitting posture. Take a few breaths, relax the body, and sit properly. The meditation posture is very important as it allows you to apply the antidotes spontaneously. Once a problem arises, you will notice that your sitting posture has likely deviated. As soon as drowsiness or restlessness appears, check your posture. It has probably gone wrong. When wandering thoughts arise, the head is often held too high or tilted. In both agitation and drowsiness, the head feels muddled. However, these two states differ. The muddledness of agitation is accompanied by a slight sensation of heat. Both drowsiness and agitation can cause the mind to lose clarity. When you sit correctly, your awareness becomes very clear and you feel exceedingly peaceful. You may feel as if you have no head or body, with only a slight sensation in your legs, as the energy channels there are not yet fully open. The entire upper body, especially the head, feels exceptionally clear. Once you have truly entered meditative concentration, the head must be very clear, not muddled. If you feel muddled, it indicates either restlessness or drowsiness.